All right, hello. Melissa May Dillon here, live on my personal page on Facebook. And then I also upload it to my YouTube channel at Melissa May Dillon, which is the easiest place to go back and watch any replays. If there's anything you ever want to look at again or hear about again. And if you are on YouTube, please make sure to subscribe, and I would love that. And then if you are on YouTube or on Facebook and there's any topics that you would like to talk about, any thoughts that you have, anything that you're relating to, or anything that you're glad that you have heard, I would love to hear in the comments. And then you can also do hashtag replay if you are watching this. And today is a beautiful Sunday day, although it's been a snowstorm all day long. We woke up with snow and it's been snowing all day. It is very cold outside. All my appointments for tomorrow have been canceled because we have so much snow. And I also decided today that it was a day that I didn't need to put on any makeup. I do want to clarify, like, I don't ever feel like I have to, like, it's a more of a, I want to. When I do turn on the camera, I wish sometimes that I did, but at the same time, one, I actually look pretty good without makeup. So that's pretty awesome. But I do tend to like notice like my colors are not like as even as I like them to be. But I also, it's very important to me because even though I may have this internal angst of like, your skin color could look more, I don't know. I don't even know the right word for it. It's not as my skin looks fine and healthy and great and awesome. I just know it looks more polished when I put makeup on. But today was a day I didn't feel like putting anything on my face. But every day is a day this year that I'm going live on Facebook. So sometimes you may find me it's funny, you may find me all decked out. Some days you will find me like this. Some days you may find me with my hair all messy. But I've made a commitment to myself to go live every single day this year on Facebook. And as I was sitting here, I keep my earrings here at my desk because I would wear them 24/7 if I could. But the baby always rips them out of my ear right now. So I leave them on my desk, so put them on right before the video. And part of me was like, oh, you didn't get ready. You can't put your earrings on. David, this baby, he's supposed to be with the baby. I can't put my earrings on because I didn't put makeup on. I'm like, well, that's ridiculous. I'm like, what the heck is that? I was like, I can put my earrings on whether or not I have makeup on or not. But anyway, that was a little bit of a ramble. I have been spending today going over my human design chart because my sister is amazing at teaching. Are you saying hello to yourself? Yeah. You kissing? Kiss. You were supposed to be with your daddy. Mama's working. Ah! You go with the busha, please? Say hi, Pumpkin.
Daddy's cooking.
Hi, sweetness. All right, you're going to go with the busha. Look, she even got a little treat you can have. Sometimes it be like that, though. I have made it my intention to go live every single day this year. And so there are times where I have to step aside from being mama to come on live. And but anyway, I was spending all day doing my human design chart, which my sister does as human design, and I was learning things about how I'm designed to communicate with people, how I'm designed to work with people, who I'm designed to work with. Like it's amazing stuff. If you're interested in this, we have a Facebook group called I Am Designed for Business. And she shares in that group how to begin breaking down your chart in relation to business. And it's phenomenal. Incredible insights already. And I'm only on part 1, and she has 3 parts right now. And we're about to kick off our collaboration course tomorrow. Her and I are doing learn how you're designed to do business course. And it's incredible. It's amazing the insight that she's brought. But when I was coming on to go live today, I was like, there was nothing lingering in my mind like, you must talk about this. Because sometimes I have that when I'm like, oh, I'm going to talk about this today, or I know I'm going to talk about that, or ooh, that's such a good thing to talk about. And I had nothing. So one of the things that I do, because I have the gift of claircognizant, which means like a knowing. You receive a knowing, and there's no logical explanation of how you know the thing that you know, but you just know it. And I know that I definitely channel messages. I mean, we all do, from like source and God and the divine. So I was like, well, and one of the tricks that they teach you with claircognizant to get more tapped in tune with your gift is to just do free writing. So you start with something and then you just allow it to write out. And so I said, today for my live, and I wrote this out right here. I said, today for my live video, I need to talk about, and then intentionality came out. And intentionality is a word that Melanie Ann Layer talks about all the time. So Melanie Ann Layer is a woman that I follow, and participate in her courses. She was homeless in her car in 2016, and then now at this point she has an $88 million brand. I know she's going to hit a billion here soon. It's going to be amazing. And she teaches about her life, about her wisdom, about business, about being a woman. She teaches about all kinds of stuff. And I'm signed up to be a part of all of her programs. And it's been an amazing ride learning from her. And she actually did 365 days live when she first got started on the internet. And so there's definitely been some inspiration there. But she talks about that she uses intentionality all the time. And I've never quite dug into it. She doesn't specifically teach a lesson on intentionality, but it's infused in everything that she says. And I was, kind of kind of throwing this around in my mind the other day about like purchasing stuff. Like yesterday, I went live to talk about how we spend money on things. And if we don't spend enough money on, we don't quite care about the thing. But if we do spend enough money on it, then we kind of take care of it. And it was like this idea, like I kind of understand why people buy like luxury items, like rather than buying a bunch of random purses that kind of don't work, you don't love, but you could afford it, but then it like breaks and then you buy like another one, but you can't throw the first one away because you spent enough money on it, but not enough that you care about it. And then you end up with a bunch of purses that you never even use. And I've been in that situation. I was like, what if you just buy one amazing purse for, yes, it's going to cost you, a couple hundred, couple thousand, whatever, but it's going to be one amazing purse that takes care of everything. And you're going to take care of it. It's going to be, kept neat and nice in your home. And there's a lot of intention behind that, making intentional purchases. I also, want to be very intentional with the way that I live in my house. And I'm like, I want my desk to be clean. I want my clothes to be organized. I want my pantry to be, clean and organized and look very beautiful. I don't like advertisements like screaming at me and everything has a label and an advertisement. And so I started since I wrote intentionality, I was like, okay, let me look this up real quick. So I looked at the definition of intention. It doesn't really, when you read intention, it's not really giving you the definition. It just says the quality of mental states that consist in being being directed towards some object or state of affairs. It wasn't quite, giving you a definition. So I was like, okay, let me look this up a little bit further. So I decided to punch it into Chat GPT, which is quite amazing. And I said, what is intentionality and living life with intention, especially in regards to the way Melanie Ann Layer speaks about it? And it gave me this whole 5-paragraph essay about it, which I thought was amazing. But I just want to read the first part. It says, intentionality, as described by Melanie Ann Layer and others in the personal development space, is the practice of living with a deep sense of purpose and deliberate focus on what you truly desire. It involves consciously aligning your thoughts, decisions, and actions with your goals, values, and the vision of your life you want to create. And I think that's a lot when I think about if I am intentional, if I am living intentionally, it basically means that I am living my life on purpose and I do things purposefully. Everything has a purpose behind it. And then part of me was like, well, then it's everything is, you're trying to get a result from everything that you do, or you're trying to hustle, or you're trying to do and be productive. And I'm like, no, because I think I can intentionally rest. I can intentionally say this time is a time for rest. This time is a time for peace. Or I can even say this time I am intentionally taking time to be silly and goofy and being very intentional about why I'm doing that thing. But intentionality is, because we talk about in the online development, I don't necessarily mean online, but in the personal development space, because personal development is all about me being a better human and me feeling good about my life and me falling in love with my life. That's what personal development is. And I've been in personal development for a long time. It's something that I feel like we should just be teaching from the get-go when we're kids, and also with emotional maturity and stuff like that. But personal development is generally something you fall into later as an adult when you realize you don't have all the skills that you want to have, or that you wake up to a life you don't love, or you always find yourself in a repeating pattern of dating the wrong people or whatever. And so personal development, it's a multi-billion dollar industry, personal development. You got motivational speaks, you got books that you can listen to, all kinds of stuff about, personal development. And when I think about like, I want to develop myself to feel better. I want to develop myself to, make better choices. I want to develop myself to have a better business. And all of this is a part of personal development. And living your life like on purpose. And one of the things we talk about in the personal development world is being in alignment. And being aligned means that like what you're so if I want to have a successful business, I have to be in alignment with that. I have to be matched up to that. I have to be in you know radiating that frequency, because we're like energetic beings. And again, this is just something I'm working through. Something, so like right now I am teaching myself through vocally speaking it out loud. So some of this might feel a little choppy, but that's because again, this is my way of getting it out and figuring it out. And I'm a little bit of a verbal processor. So and additionally, my voice recently told me that the voice itself, our voices themselves, come with their own knowledge, wisdom, and experience. And when we tap into our voice without filtering it through our mind, we actually learn something new. We are speaking to ourselves. Like if you just allow your voice to flow and to speak without trying to filter every thought you have through your mind, you can actually tap into some wisdom and knowledge, and you can tap into your highest self that's able to just drop through in your voice. When we try to put things through our mind too much, it can get a little bit convoluted with other people's thoughts, with the programming, the conditioning. But our voice sometimes is a way of tapping into our truth and our knowledge that's available to us. So anyway, I know the power of speaking, and so right now I'm wanting to speak through intentionality. So everything I'm sharing right now is me speak. And this is the first time that I'm speaking about this. So this is me also learning and grappling with this concept and working my mind through it to figure it out. I imagine by like the 10th or 12th time that I talk about intentionality, it's going to sound like a completely different conversation and be like, this is what it means, and this is how you do it, and this is why it's so amazing, and this is what it does in your life. But right now I'm just kind of grappling with it myself. So, but being in alignment with something, if you say, I want to have an amazing relationship, but you can't speak your truth and you can't be honest, you're out of alignment with an amazing relationship. Because amazing relationship means that both people can be honest with each other. And so if you cannot be honest with yourself and you cannot be honest with other people, you're out of alignment with having an amazing relationship. And like everything can be that way. And like if you want to have a successful business, then you have to be tapped in. You have to be aligned with like what your worth is, so that you can receive the amount of money from that business. And so when I think about intentionality, I feel like it's a way of getting aligned. And because like there's also this phrase like, how I do one thing is how I do everything. And like I'm not 100% on that. But I think when we get intentional, we can get more clear and focused about what it is that we want in our life. Like when I think about how messy my house can get when I'm not intentional, when I think about all the things that can get cluttered up, like I lose focus, I'm scattered because my stuff is scattered. But when I begin to clean it up and when I begin to put everything clean and organized in its home, I feel better. I'm getting more in alignment with how it is that I want to be. And it's like I want to intentionally curate my spaces, right? I want my desk to look a certain way so that it invokes creativity. I want my desk to look a certain way so that it helps me feel calm and peaceful when I sit down to do my work. I want my closet to be organized, and today this morning I pulled my perfectly rolled underwear out of the box, and I'm like, God, look how beautiful that looks. Look how amazing. And like how often it was like, oh my God, just grab a pair of underwear out of the drawer. Like they're not even folded. It's just whatever. Just, grab a pair, whatever, and you slap them on and then that's it. How different is that, being able to like, oh my God, look how cute my underwear is. And then I pull my underwear and then I put it on. Like that's going to give you such a different feeling when you are looking at beautifully rolled up underwear and putting them on versus grabbing a random ass pair out of the drawer and it's all unfolded and it's all scattered and it's mixing with your socks. When I try to put it on when it's all whatever, I'm not even thinking about putting on my underwear. I'm not even thinking about my body. I'm not even thinking about how I feel with when I get dressed. My mind's probably somewhere else. I'm probably thinking about all the dishes I have to do, or I'm probably thinking about all this. But when it's beautifully set up and it looks awesome and amazing, and I'm like, oh my God, look at my cute little underwear, and I go put my little underwears on. And then and it's not little because I actually have really big underwears. David makes fun of them. I still wear my pregnancy underwears because they're the most comfortable thing. It goes all the way, they go all the way up to my boobs. I love them. But they look so cute and amazing when they're rolled up and in a little box. And I was like, gosh, I feel so different when I take the time to make my underwear look beautiful in this box and I put it on, and then I feel better as I'm putting it on. I feel more intentional. I feel more focused and honed in on the moment. And I cherish my body more as I'm like, look, I'm putting on this beautiful underwear onto my body. And I'm like, this is intentionality. This is the God zone, as Melanie's talking about. So she's running a program right now called the God Zone. And it's all about intentionally creating your reality by the homework that she's given us, the first 5 lessons or so has been about envisioning something happening before it happens and setting the tone for how you want it to happen, and how to do that, and seeing your life like a movie, seeing your life as the best story ever told and you get to live it. And I was like, that's being very intentional. And so I want to begin, and I think I have been intentional in certain things, but I really want to expand my intentionality. I really want to live my life on purpose for a purpose. And I want to be very clear that I don't think as human beings, our main job is just to be. You don't have to be producing anything. You don't have to, be this productive member of society. I really break off with that. But I feel that, as human beings, as our spirit is here, that there is something we want to do. There is something we want to accomplish. And for some people, I think it's just living a beautiful life and not trying to do anything for the masses. I don't think some of us are meant to do things for the masses. And I don't think, we're meant to work in factories and die creating products. Our main job as humans is just to be. And whether you do nothing monumental with that, or you do everything monumental with that, I think it's all perfect. So I just want to clarify, when I say living a life on purpose, I don't mean that we all have this set purpose that's meant to change the planet. I think you being here is enough. I think you living your life is enough and amazing. So I just want to be clear about that, because there's a big wound that most of us carry about having to be productive. And I think it prevents us from being able to live a purposeful life when we're always thinking about productivity. Somebody I was learning about today talked about, they always feel like they have to justify what they're spending money on. There has to be a reason or a purpose behind it. They can't just spend money just because it's fun, just because they want the thing, just because they want it. There has to be an intention behind attention. There has to be a justification behind it. But again, you can intentionally say, I am buying this for my simple enjoyment. Intention doesn't mean productivity. And I think that's what I'm trying to make a distinction here, is it's not to say that every time I have an intention, it's to be productive. I think a lot of us are caught up in being productive and not allowing ourselves to simply be human beings. So I think our main goal here on earth right now is to simply be human beings and to have a physical experience. But when we have a desire or a fire in our heart to teach the world, share the world, share our wisdom, to speak, to do whatever, to intentionally do things to align with that purpose. And I really want to begin cultivating that in my life. And I did it again, and I did it before and I did it again, where I literally begin with my own house. I begin with where I live. I begin with my body. I begin, purposefully, intentionally living within my house, the way I put things, the way I set things up. My whole mood is better all the time when I have a clean bathroom, when I have a clean closet, when I have a clean desk. I feel better. I feel less Because there's this thing that says your outside environment is a representation of your mind. And so if you have clutter and you have boxes everywhere and you have piles left of unfinished business, and you've got this pile here and this pile here and all this stuff. I used to have a ton of piles. You know, all these piles here. It's a representation of what is going on in your mental state. And so, and I felt that, right? It was like the piles are making me crazy, and it was like, you're the one that made the piles. You're the one that's crazy. You got to clean this stuff up. So when I intentionally, and it was so distinct, I remember my transformation starting in 2020, and it's so crazy because Melanie Ann Layer talked about how we are just as close to 2020 as we are to 2030. And it's like, oh my God. And 2020 was literally my year of massive transformation, incredible, insane transformation. And I'm so thankful for the pandemic. I mean, many people can look at that time and be like, oh my God, that was awful. That was nuts. It was blah, 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 whatever. And I'm like, oh my God, I became such a better person through all of that. I am so glad that we had to go inward and reflect upon ourselves. So anyway, my transformation from 2020, like almost every year is very clear to me what happened in 2020, what happened in 21, what happened in 22, what happened in 23, which it feels like yesterday at this point because that was the year I had my baby, what happened in 2024. Honestly, I mean, 2017, I think, is about when I really remember up to my life, because 2017 was the year I made the big decision to quit my corporate job. And so I can go back to about as far as about 2017. But before that, I don't remember like a lot of my choice. I mean, I know what I can summarize things that I did, but it's all kind of fuzzy to me before 2017. And then again, even 2017 to 2020, it was amazing. Like I was lots of traveling, lots of flying around the country, lots of teaching insurance classes, and lots of connecting with family. But me, myself, in terms of a personal, really, really aligning myself with the life that I wanted to live really started happening 2020. So 2020, was the year where we went all online, and I was no longer traveling and teaching around the world. The last place I went was Florida, and then after that, everything got shut down. And then I was on the internet, and then I was at home with my sister. I had an apartment, I had a condo in Vegas that I never really went to. It was just there so I can have an address for the job that I had. But I mostly would live with my sister and her kids, so that I could visit with them and hang out with them in between work trips. So most of my life was actually traveling. And then in between the travel, I would spend a lot of time with my sister so I can be with my nieces and my nephews and watch them grow up, because I have been very involved in their growing ups. So I had a bedroom at my sister's house. But being at COVID at their house, like 3 months straight, it was like, we gotta be done here. Like, this is like, I feel like I'm living with my parents again. We're trapped inside all the time. I was like, I gotta get out of here. I was like, well, I have an apartment in Vegas. So I'm just gonna go out there because I don't know, like I can't live with my sister and her husband anymore, feeling like I'm just another kid. I want to make my own choices, want to make my own decisions. It was the first time I intentionally also like decided to focus on myself instead of focusing, on my family. So I moved out to Vegas in like July of 2020. And then very shortly after, I met my second husband, which to me, like looking back, I'm so glad I had that relationship. Like 100%. I have nothing but appreciation for the relationship that I had, because it spurned so much more development. I thought I was in a pretty decent place mentally and emotionally before we got married. I had already been doing some work. I had already been learning some stuff. I had already been in the personal development space for a while. So I thought I was in a really good spot when we got married. But once we got married, it was highlighted to me that I was not at all where I thought I was. And I had so much more learning and growth to do. And our relationship really spurned that on, because it was actually at the end of 2020, the beginning of 2021, that I actually started to lose my mind. And I mean, seriously. And I remember there was so many instances I was like in and out of like different realms of reality. And so there's sometimes I was in this super manic mode where I had so much knowledge, I had so much insight. I remember there was a moment where I was like, you can ask me anything about the universe and I can explain to you why it's this way. And I would even ask myself questions and I'm like, well, it's this way because of this. And I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing. And I was so tapped in to source, but I had so much trauma at the same time that it was coming out in weird ways. And like I literally believe like we're in a video game, which I actually do believe we're in a video game, but I actually visualized like coins in the air that I could just hit, and like I was like getting coins. Like it was the weirdest time. It was so weird that I even I went to go pick, and there was a lot going on too. There was this massive trauma that happened between my husband, myself, and another person. But I I was driving to the airport to go pick somebody up, and I literally thought I was in a video game. I was driving through gates of the airport. I was going wrong ways up the runways. I crashed into a cab driver thinking that I would hop into his car. It was this craziest stuff was happening, and I ended up going into a psych ward for 3 days. And all of the manic thoughts shut off. Everything stopped. I was like back in like 3D physical reality, and but so much had been opened up and exposed to me, and it set me on a trajectory of like legitimately going to therapy, because it was a point of like, you are being diagnosed with bipolar potential schizophrenia based on what you have had in the last month. And I know like, and I got with an amazing therapist, which I'm super happy about. I went to therapy every day or every week um after that event for 2 years. And then I eventually switched to every 2 weeks. And then I eventually switched to once a month. But I've been seeing that same therapist since that event. And he first took care of, okay, well, if this is bipolar, these are the things that we need to watch out for. These are the potential triggers. These are things that happen. I have never, ever had an event reoccur like that. And ultimately, it was diagnosed as this, honestly, in the spiritual world, it was a spiritual awakening, 100% spiritual awakening. On the 3D world, it was a psychotic episode brought on by an obvious trigger. And I haven't had any other bipolar type of things or anything like that, unless you were to talk to somebody who is not spiritual. Then they would say, yes, I'm absolutely, because when I say I'm channeling and people are talking to me, then that would be schizophrenia. But on the spiritual side of things, that's just normal. So it meant, so the 2021, going from 2020, everything about my life changed. I thought I was in a good spot. I got married. Reality set in at the end of 2021. I realized I was married to a different person than I thought I was. I thought I had a lot more healing done than I thought I did. And it all came to this ugly, big pimple of a head that popped. And I think it was like the end of January, February of 2021, where I ended up going 3 days into the psych ward. And then that begun my therapy. And for that entire year, my focus was on therapy and working on myself. And I was every Wednesday, I was in therapy. And I continue to do my personal development. I continue to work on myself. I continue to do strategies and learn about trauma and understand how my trauma was impacting me, and working on changing my behavior, working on all kinds of stuff throughout 2021. And it culminated to the moment in December of 2021 where I made the decision to go to Belize, travel with a stranger to another country with this woman I had met online who was in a Facebook group with me, who wanted to live her life on purpose. Full-time purpose was the group that I was in. And it was all about being able to create a business via your passion about, and it was focused kind of on spirituality and stuff, because it was Victor Odo's and Aaron Dowdy's group. And if you follow them on YouTube, they're really into spiritual, energetic type stuff. And so it all culminated to that event. And it was on that trip, after months of therapy, after having damn near lost my marbles back in January, February, and realizing I was not in the marriage that I thought I was in, and continually working on myself, I was in such a good spot in December. And I took on that trip, and I was so intentional that entire trip. Intentionality, what I was talking about earlier, I was so intentional with that trip. I chose to do everything that scared me. I chose to eat food that scared me. I did activities that scared me. I was like, I am going to do brave new things. I'm going to be brave new Melissa. And that was a mantra that I repeated to myself constantly. Brave new Melissa, brave new Melissa, brave new Melissa, with everything that I did on that trip. And I came back a completely different person. And I quit my job. I quit my corporate job. I started a YouTube channel. And in 2022, January of 2022, I started my YouTube channel. And then it's just been a magical ride ever since. And it's not to say that I haven't had complications or that I haven't had struggles and that everything was peaches and cream since 2022. Not at all. But it's such a marked difference where everything before was like this internal struggle where it felt like nothing I was doing physically showed itself. And then here in 2022, it was like everything I had done internally was now showing itself through my business. And so 2020, I mean, what are your 2020 vision, man? I've been working on this idea about vision. But 2020 was such an amazing time, and I really like it, so marked for me about living with on purpose. But it was in that condo where I began intentionally living, and it was right after we moved in like November, and then I had my breakdown in January, February. So that was like 3 or 4 months of living there, and everything was just in piles. I remember I just had piles of stuff everywhere. I barely had any living room furniture. So we had like one couch, we had a bookcase that the TV was on, and then we had my desk in the living room. And then I just had a bunch of piles, a bunch of stuff that had nowhere to go, like nothing. They didn't have a home. My bedroom was just a mattress, like just the bed with a blanket on it. Like we didn't even have a dresser. We had nothing in there. And it was after that event where I had lost my mind and I was at home all of 2021, I started getting very intentional. I bought furniture to create my living room. I hung up artwork and everything so that it would be beautiful. I made my bedroom beautiful. My sister had come over to help me after leaving the psych ward. And she was with me for a while, and we did some art projects where we redid some we did some dressers that I had picked up for free. They were like teal blue, and I painted them rose gold, and it was amazing. And I got very, very intentional. And then suddenly it was like my home was beautiful. And then I started, and then I was a little bit messy, but like my home was pretty. And I had started flossing my teeth because I was in a whole lot of pain. And I got into the habit of flossing my teeth, and I was like, wow, I got this habit of flossing my teeth. I wonder whatever habits I can create. And I slowly created habits that allowed me to keep my house clean and beautiful every day. Every morning I'd wake up to a beautifully clean home. Throughout the day, I would put everything away so that it stayed clean and beautiful. I would clean my kitchen every night so that I would come into a clean kitchen every morning. And it made my life so much better. And it was in that energy that I went to Belize, and it was in that energy that I built my business. And all of that, when I think about it, was getting very intentional. Very intentional about my house, very intentional about my surroundings, very intentional about the environment in which I lived my daily life. And I can look back now and I can see all the intentionality on it. And now I want to be intentional about being intentional, like living my life on purpose for a purpose. And, I feel like my time is extremely valuable. So am I honoring my time as much as am I being intentional with my time? Am I using it wisely, or am I using it to scroll on my phone? Am I, and again, I don't think that using it wisely means every moment must be productive. I think this is a problem that a lot of people have, is this productivity thing. You can be totally unproductive and be intentional. Like if I'm like intentionally choosing that I'm going to read my book right now and just have a good time reading my book. Or if I'm going to choose to sit outside and be in the sun, I'm going to sit outside and be in the sun. I'm going to make that my purpose. And right now we can't do that because it's freaking freezing and there's like tons of snow outside. But just intentionally operating in my world, making everything intentional. And I can't wait to see how this kind of like blows up, because I know it's going to make a ripple wave. If intentionality is something that Melanie Ann Layer talks about all the time, and she talks about how intentional she is, I'm like, hot damn, like if I start being intentional about, what I do and how I do it, I feel like it can be make massive ripples and changes within my world. And I'm super excited to see, how that happens. So one of the things I'm getting intentional on is I do want to speak to people. I want to be on stage. I want to be sharing my story. I want to be sharing my wisdom. And instead of waiting for anyone to invite me to do that, I am inviting myself by going live every day for 365 days this year. It not only is it going to help me with my voice and my speaking and building an audience, it's going to build my YouTube channel at Melissa May Dillon. Please make sure to subscribe. But it's just going to have this massive effect on my life, and I'm super excited, and I'm just going to be living a lot more intentionally this year, living my life on purpose, for purpose, getting into alignment with what it is that I want. And yeah, and I'm excited to see how this happens and how this works. So I love you all. I'm going to send you off to have an amazing day. I'll be here tomorrow. I have no idea what topics I'm going to talk about each day. I just go each day. So we'll see how it goes. And I'm going to send you guys off with some love. Have an amazing night. Have an amazing day. And I'll see you tomorrow.